Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of College Sucks. I'm your host, Davis Samantha Davidson, a student affairs professional who has been in college all my life. Well, not all, most of my life. All right, this week we are going to be talking about bouncing back from poor exam results. So yes, you did your exams over the semester at the end of the semester and the grades are now in and they are not the grades you expected. I'm sorry. And I don't want this to be the moment that ruins your whole college experience. So, in this episode, we'll be looking at what to do to bounce back from poor exam results. College sucks. Stay tuned. So, this week we'll be looking at what to do when exam results don't meet your expectations. We'll be talking about how you manage the disappointment, try to understand what went wrong, and create a solid plan to move forward. Remember, the plan is the plan. Poor results don't define you, they're just a stepping stone towards success. And you have to really, really believe that if you're going to bounce back from what has happened. So, let's keep it 100. The word failure exists because failure exists. The letter grade F or D or E up to X exists because people fail. It's not new. It's not something that is foreign. And yes, you would not want that for yourself. I personally would not want that for you, but it happens and you have to accept that. You need to just believe that this is your story. This is what turns you into the person who can survive a letdown, survive a disappointment, survive results that are worse than you expected. College is where you really learn to be a strong individual. It's really a small world and it's preparing you to enter that world. It mimics what happens in real life. You're going to have problems and failing is just honestly a part of life. So I've known students who have had poor exam results, who have failed out whole semesters, who are now enjoying a fantastic life. I mean, one of my favorite students, she didn't even bother at the end. And now she is up to her master's degree in another area because that might have been a problem. She was studying the wrong thing. She's a successful entrepreneur. She is a great mom. That course that, stopped her from earning her diploma at the time has not stopped her in life, because if you're a winner, you're just a winner. And that's really a decision that you make. So failing is something that can happen to anyone. And most of the people that you revere or you find successful, they will tell you that there are times that they have failed. And that's what really was the turning point for them, to make them realize that, hey, I need to do something different. I need to make an adjustment. I need to surround myself with different people, or maybe what I'm doing is just not for me. So there's so many things that you can learn from something that is negative, failing. But just accept that it's fine. It's fine and it's not fine. But it's not as bad as you believe. The world is not ending. It is okay. You can fail and still succeed. All right. So I'm going to give you some steps. I'm into the steps and telling you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just find that it helps to keep things in order in my own mind because I don't really map out these episodes. So the first thing that I want to tell you is that you have to acknowledge how you feel. Some people, when they fail, they hide it. They don't want to tell anyone. Some of them go as far as to say they didn't see it and ignore it. But yet when it comes time for graduation, you did not retake the course. So you're not graduating. So that might be the one thing you failed, but because you refuse to acknowledge it, you did not resit it. And now it is really posing a problem. So you need to acknowledge how you feel, and you need to try to figure out what to do to move forward. It's a disappointment. It's okay to be vexed. It's okay to cry a little bit if you want to cry. I'm a big fan of crying in private like an adult. But, just let out your feelings. If you failed, it's not what you wanted, but suppressing it is just going to lead to you being angry with yourself, being resentful to the lecturer, to your group mates, like whoever you want to blame, instead of just saying, look, the thing is the thing. I have failed, and now what can I do to go forward? So you need to acknowledge it. I'm a big fan of writing it down, making a note of it, the date, because you want to write your story. You want to be like, okay, I found out I failed January 12th, and the next year I found out I got an A. It was January 13th. So it's okay to like make a note of it so that you don't forget. One, two, like I said, when you write things down, it does something to your brain. So journaling is a really good way to kind of express all your feelings. You can talk it over with a friend, and as usual, you can find your student affairs professional or your guidance counselor, even somebody who is the year above you have a good relationship with, or a classmate, or even your mom or dad, and say, look, I failed. And you might really need to talk to them, because resitting an exam is not free, at least not in this country. So you are going to need to let them know, because you might need some money in order to resit the course. All right. The next thing that I will tell you to do is to reflect and assess. You have to ask yourself questions. So after you get past the anger, the disappointment, the self-doubt, which is going to come, because if you thought you passed and then you failed, and it's the reality, you ask for a remark and you've still failed, you're going to start to, self-doubt is going to creep in. It's normal and natural, but you need to get past that, because if it's a part of your academic program and it's a subject that you have to retake, in some instances it might be an elective depending on where you're pursuing your degree, and you may just say, okay, I'm not good at this, I'm just going to take another subject. But it might be one of those courses that you have to take, like it's one of the courses in your concentration. You're going to have to resit it. So reflecting and assessing where you went wrong is very important. And in this moment, you have to be brutally honest with yourself. I always say to students who come to me and say they have failed, I always suggest, please, know that it's early, it's the beginning of the semester. If the lecturer is here, please ask them if they can tell you where you went wrong. What was your issue? Because a lot of times, if we don't know what we're doing wrong, we're going to keep doing it. You know what I mean? Especially if you approach the exam with a lot of confidence and you thought, whoa, I mashed this up, I got this. Yeah, this is it. And then it wasn't it. Then you really need some feedback. And a lot of times we're not able to give students their exam papers, that they don't have access to it unless they ask for a remark. But a conversation with the lecturer, which is free, can shed a lot of light, give you a lot of insight into where you may have gone wrong, because sometimes they remember the ones that fail. Because lecturers don't really want to fail you. That looks bad on them. That messes with their stats. So a lot of times when they have a failing grade, they will look over the paper more than once, just to make sure if they can find, is there something I missed, so that they're able to. And if you're in a small college or university, just a quick search of your ID number, they can connect that it was you, because a lot of times you mark blindly, you're only using the ID numbers. But if it's a small institution, they may be able to tell you definitively what you did. In a larger university, you may have to pay a fee to go through the paper, but it's worth it, especially if you felt like you passed and then you didn't. It's good to know where you went wrong, and you're only going to have access to that by being able to go through the exam paper. All right. In being honest with yourself, you need to look at what could have caused you to get to where you got to. Like, what led to this failure? Was it that you weren't prepared for the exam properly. Like, I know a lot of you are 2 nights before or the night before. Sometimes that's not enough. If it's a course that has a lot of equations, you have to be practicing in order to master that. Or some of you just are not the best at test taking. So that might be the area in which you're weak. So it's really good to look at yourself and be like, okay, where did I mess up and what can I work on? So it could be that you weren't prepared enough, you didn't manage your time properly, so you didn't have enough time to practice or to study for for the exam, or just from the beginning, from your in-course assignments, you were just not doing well on them, and so there was really no way you were going to pass. Or was it that you just genuinely did not understand the information? And it's quite possible. Okay, there are times when people are saying things to my face and I still don't understand. So understanding, sometimes it's 5 people will tell you something and it's the 6th person that you get it with. So it could be that you just didn't understand a concept and a concept ran through the whole course, and from you were not clear on that, there was no way you were going to pass. So it's very important that you try to pinpoint what were the things that contributed to you not passing. All right. You also need to look at external factors. So were you stressed out? Were you stressed the whole semester over tuition? Did you believe that you weren't going to be able to do your exams until the last minute where some miracle money came in? And so you really were not prepared anyway because you believed you weren't going to take them? Was it that you were sick? Did you have flu? Did you have an injury? Were you in a hospital? All of those things. Were you having relationship challenges? Were you having roommate challenges? Did you have a challenge with the lecturer? Are you having a challenge in your family? So there are just so many things that could have contributed, and you need to identify what these things were and see how you can distance yourself from them in preparation for resitting this course so that they don't impact you as much for this course and other courses. The next thing is to also see what you can do to improve. A lot of times when students fail courses, they just throw it away and they don't go back to it until they need to resit it. It's very important to make peace with it, to evaluate it, and to keep it in the corner somewhere of your mind that you're going to have this to redo. So if at any time, and one of my students did this, I was really proud of him. If any time that course, because he didn't need to attend class to resit it and intervention was necessary, but anytime he didn't have a class and that course class was being kept, he would just sit in so that he could learn things differently or latch on to any concept. So it was still at the fore of his mind. And of course, when he did the resit, he got a really, really good grade, because when we spoke about it, this was something I said to him. I said, it's very important for you to keep it fresh in your mind and don't put it down until it's time for the exam, because you're not going to pass that way. I don't really think that you would be successful. So you need to get feedback. You need to look for ways in which you can improve. You need to examine what interfered with your progress and what may have caused your failure. The next thing is that you need to shift your mindset. I talk about mindset a lot because everything starts in your mind. I'm serious. You were a thought before you were a person. Seriously. So you need to make sure that you don't start beating up on yourself. I know some of you, when you feel like you failed the exam, when you finish, it's like the world is ending. When it is confirmed, the world ended again. Even though in the back of your mind, you already knew based on your performance that you may have failed. It's like a new shock to the system when it's like real, when it's in front of you. You need to avoid falling into the trap of self-blame. Or the belief system that I'm just not good enough, I can't manage this, I'm not bright, any of those things. Listen to me. Failure is a thing that happens, and the only remedy is to not fail. So there's no way around it. You have to do what you have to do to get to where you need to get to. And so thinking positively is extremely important. You need to reframe your thinking, and you need to think about, what am I learning from this? In everything there is a lesson. So failing this course can teach you a lot about things that you need to do, that you need to probably take things more seriously, and you need to hang around people who are serious about their work. That could be the lesson that you're learning. So what is it teaching you about resilience and adaptability? Like, what can you learn from this? And always, it's all about positive affirmations. I have failed a course. I am not a failure. Those are two different things. Okay, so we're only going to speak positively to ourselves. The next thing is that you definitely need to have a recovery plan. So I spoke to you about my student who had failed, and we had a conversation about it. I said to him, all right, what are we going to do? He knew he didn't have to go back to the class, meaning no intervention was necessary in order to retake the course. In some universities, you have to take the course all over again, like you have to sit in a class. So we broke down how he was going to manage this additional course on top of all the courses he had to do in the semester, because he didn't want this one course to hold him back. So we broke it down into actionable steps and simple things. So he reached out to the new lecturer of the course. So he spoke to the lecturer who failed him. Well, he failed. I don't want to say it like that. He failed. We accepted that. He got some feedback. He wrote the feedback down, because sometimes when you hear things, you don't remember. So he wrote it down and assessed where his weak points were. Then he went and spoke to the lecturer who was teaching the course, and he had a discussion with him. As for office hours, they had a discussion for like 25 minutes. And he said, this is the area in which I feel like I'm the weakest. So if you could help me with that, if I could pop into some of the classes. We discovered that there was a clash between the classes and a course he needed to do. So going to all the classes was not possible. But whenever he could have conversations. He made a connection with someone who was taking a course for the first time, but was very serious about their work, and that person became his study partner, and that was very important. So if you notice, there's a whole plan that we have mapped out, which was literally the roadmap to success, right? Got the feedback, had a conversation with the current lecturer, pinpointed the areas that were weak, got paired with somebody who was also learning the course for the first time, and this person they were able to really help each other, because one person had the experience of sitting the exam and one was learning the course for the first time, looking at it through a different lens, and they were able to lean on each other. Both of them passed, of course. And like I said, you cannot forget about the course. Resitting it as soon as possible makes the most sense. Luckily, the person was able to resit it the following semester. So sometimes you have to wait a year, but still try to keep it in the fore of your mind that this is something I have to come back to. So you have to look at your study methods, your time management, your test taking. You need to revise notes you had before and add to it. You have to look at past papers. Could I answer a test question if I got it? And those things really, really were helpful. Also, creating a study schedule and involving it as a part of, so if you're taking 5 courses a semester, you're technically taking 6, because you have this one to retake, and you have to devote time to it as well. The next thing I will say to you to be able to bounce back from the poor exam results is to focus on growth and not perfection. In one episode, I said that perfection really is the thief of joy, because it's like this goalpost. You're in a football match and they keep moving it. Like, I just scored a goal and you've moved it a couple of yards. Like how, or the goalkeeper just keeps running up and down with it, and they're very athletic. That's what perfectionism is. It's something that we really would love, but it's very difficult to attain. All right. So you need to not be thinking about perfection. You need to be thinking about growth, and retaking the course and passing it is the ultimate growth. You need to be able to measure your progress beyond your grades. All right. You have some students who, when they feel like they can't manage the exam, they don't turn up. You turned up, you tried. That's growth right there. You could have walked away. You could have said, nah, I'm not doing this. You gave it a shot. You tried. And you have to give yourself some credit for that. You also need to make sure that you are on top of things. The habits that led to that failure, you need to try to reform them. I cannot stress that enough. There's definitely a difference between an A student and a C student. Okay? We don't get what we want, we get who we are. Right? Whoever we project ourselves to be, that's what we get. So if you want to be the kind of student that does well academically, you have to be in pursuit of that from day one. You have to really try. When you feel like giving up, when you feel like just idling out, when you feel like watching an additional movie instead of rereading notes or practicing a past paper, all of those habits, you need to really try to get beyond them, because you're not going to grow if you don't take your academic work seriously. It's just the reality of the situation. So you need to focus on the skills that you need to build. Your critical thinking. Sometimes the questions are there, you know the content, but you just cannot apply it practically. Or sometimes it's the small things. You don't know the difference between explain and the difference between stating, the difference between listing and discussing. Just those simple words, like you didn't pay close attention to them, or even you didn't read the exam questions properly. And that might be actually the area that you need to work on. If you're taking a course like me in particular, I find it very difficult to read a map. Seriously, it's one of my weaknesses. And so if I were taking a course with map reading, or even when I taught a course where the students had to read maps, so we were learning it together, I familiarized myself more with the map reading because that was not first nature to me. It was like fifth nature. It was really, and I know you're thinking it's a map, it's the simplest thing, but it's just not your strength. It's not something you're into. And so you have to work extra hard. And that's the thing. A lot of times the things that we are naturally inclined to, we tend to want to only do those things, but you don't grow if you do that. And they don't set the curriculum like that. They're not like, only do the things you're good at. No society can grow with individuals who are like that. Your mind cannot be set up in that way. So you have to work on your critical thinking, and you have to figure out how to manage your stress as well, because sometimes you're so stressed out that you waste so much time just sleeping, or you doing coping mechanisms that run counter to what you should be doing. You're sleeping when you should be studying. You're crying when you should be practicing essay. Your questions. You're overeating, which is going to make you probably sick or sleepy, or your brain won't be firing as it should. There's too much sugar in there, or all of those things. And you just need to figure out a way to manage them so that you can get to where you need to get to. I don't want to dwell too much on failing. I want to dwell more on you just getting through these feelings and doing what you need to do to get back on track. All right. So you just need to reward yourself for small wins. Surround yourself with supportive people. People are going to say, it's okay. It's all right. It happens, but you'll be fine. You need to visualize your goals and remind yourself of why you're pursuing them. Okay? You have to stay focused. You can't get derailed by failure. You can't. You just can't. Not if you want a successful life. You have to be able to get on and get over it. As simple and as harsh as that sounds. All right. So I'm sorry you failed, but what next? What are we going to do now? And that has to be the approach that you take in this life if you are to be successful. All right. So, what do I want to leave you with? What really is the takeaway message? So, your exam results essentially are a snapshot, a moment in time, not a reflection of your potential at all. Every setback is a chance to learn, grow, and come back stronger. Trust the process and do not give up on your dreams. Okay. So I would love in the comments if you could share your own failure to success story, if you have one. If you have failed, but you believe that you can bounce back strong, I encourage you to, share your recovery plan, with us using the hashtag bounce back stronger. And in addition, I just wanted to point out that I would love if you would subscribe on YouTube if you've listened to this and found any value, but I'm also now available finally on Apple Podcasts and over on Spotify. So you can carry me with you on your walks or your commute and listen, while you're cooking or doing any light work. I'm nice background music. I'm saying that. All right. Anyway, I am really sorry if you didn't get the exam results that you wanted, but believe me, it's not the end of the world. You are going to be A-okay. Please subscribe, share with your friends. Give me some feedback. Just let me know what topics you would like for me to cover. I would really love for us to be connecting. I really want you to have a successful college journey. All right. So thanks for listening. Bye.